the things that make me change my life is education, is information. Information is so important. Once we learn that there are different things going on in our world, we can then look at what we want to do to be part of that world. Other people might want to do it for themselves. They might be a hermit, they want to live in the mountains, they want to do, that's their ultimate life because maybe they're a bit of a loner, they don't want to do those things. And that of course is absolutely fine. Whatever it is that you're going to do, as long as it doesn't negatively impact other people, then I don't think there's a problem with whatever it is you want to do or whoever you want to be in doing those things.
Hello, Project Ultimate Lifers. Welcome. Today we have Mr. Miller Green here, my old colleague who happened to retire from the same time from teaching as I did. So we are going to be discussing just life, journeys, lessons, and we're looking forward to it. So, Mr. Green,
Right.
Mr. Miller Green, tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, how did you get from point A to right now?
Right, okay. My name is Miller Green, bit of an unusual name for the first name, obviously. I've had it all my life, and I've always been asked what my first name was every time I say my name is Miller. So I've lived with that all my life. I was born in Glasgow in Scotland, and I lived there till I was in my early 20s. I moved down to England. I went to university in England, in Manchester. Met my lovely wife Marie down there. And after a while, we decided we would start to move around. So we moved out to Qatar for a year, went back to Manchester. Then we went out to Qatar. Then we went to Dubai. Then we went over to Jeddah. Then we came back to Qatar. So we've been around the Middle East area a lot. I particularly like it because I was a rugby player when I was younger, and all the injuries that you have when you're younger, they don't affect you out here in the heat. So yeah. I like being around. And the other thing I like the most, of course, is I like meeting different people from different cultures.
Yeah.
That's where I am.
That is a beautiful thing about Doha. On any given day, you're encountering somebody from somewhere else in the world.
That's right, yeah.
Loads of different experience. Okay, so Project Ultimate Life means we're trying to become our best selves to live up to our greatest potential. What does living your ultimate life mean to you, and how have you pursued this throughout your journey?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm getting on a bit now. I'm 66 years young, and young, of course. And
very young.
Very young, sometimes too young. But that's there's nothing wrong with that, of course. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I think when you talk about ultimate, I'm not sure that you want to reach your ultimate because then you've stopped. You know, that's the ultimate, it's the best you can ever get. For me, it is the things that guided me for most of my life were to do with my family, my mother, my father, my two sisters, my young brother. Unfortunately, my young brother had very bad health, and he had issues that I used to help him with. So when I was younger, I realised just how lucky I was to be healthy. And touch wood, I've been healthy all my life. I think I got the good genes in the family in that way. Some of it's through luck, and some of it's through deciding yourself that you want to physically do things. Like I said, I played rugby. I also played all sorts of sports. I became involved in PE with yourself, of course. And you know that we both love being fit and healthy and so on. But for where I decided that I wanted to go was I suppose it was to do with what do you want to do? What do you want to make? You know, do you want to make money? And I never wanted to make a lot of money because that isn't where I got my pleasure from. Like having a lot of money, it came from playing sports and being with friends and meeting new people. You know, when I was very young, some of my closest friend was from Pakistan, and I used to go and work on a Saturday in his shop when I was like 16 and that sort of stuff. And I go to their house and learn about their culture and everything else. And I thought, oh, this is really interesting, you know. And then, of course, but I'm in Glasgow. I'm in this very small place, you know, in my whole life. And I thought to myself, well, maybe one day I'll actually be able to go to Pakistan or wherever it is. And I want to go and travel to America and stuff. And to be honest, all I did was went through school in the normal way, into university in the normal way, and then started to travel. But it's when I travelled is when I realised that things are very, very different. You come to Qatar, and when I came in 1996, things were very different from what they are now. And also anywhere else I went, I would go to France and the French exchange and things like that. And everything is changing all the time. But my ultimate life would be to do things for other people. And in a way, it's a bit selfish because I get extreme satisfaction out of if I'm helping people, for example. And I do something that maybe say they can't do, for example. I was lucky my father was a joiner and he taught me all these skills so I can go to people's houses and fix things for them and all that sort of stuff. And I, although I'm giving up my time to do it, I'm selfishly thinking, this is great, I can do this, I know I can do this. And at the end of it, I step back and think, well, that's a good job, that's up on the wall, that's drilled in, it's whatever it is. And so I get my pleasure from doing things that I like to do, and I get reward. The reward I get is the pleasure I feel when I do it. So ultimately, if I get up and I've got a job like that to do, like I have this Thursday, hopefully I'm going to go and help a friend move house. So I'm like, oh great, I can go and do that all day long. Some people might think, well, why is that such a good thing for you to do? And it's because selfishly, I'll think that's great, I can do that and help them, and that will be good at the end of the day. And they'll think, thank you for doing that, maybe. And I'll just think, yeah, great, that's another good job done. And because we're all doing jobs all the time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
That's
so this is a really interesting mindset. So I can actually speak to your generosity. In the couple of years that we worked together, I have never met a more generous human. You were always buying us those wraps from Coffee Bean and coffees, and I was always like, I gotta get him back, I gotta pay him back, quid pro quo, keep it even. And and through just the different lessons and experiences you shared, that is definitely a thing for you. Can you share a pivotal moment in your life that significantly shaped you or molded this mindset?
right.
Kind of like helped you form this, like, this is who I'm going to be, right?
Yeah, I suppose due to my family situation of my brother not being very well, I decided I would take the role of helping and looking after Edward. And at that time, I think that was perhaps why I decided to do the type of things that I would want to do. And when you said earlier about generosity, I do give money and things like that, but to me that isn't being generous. Giving your time is being generous. And for me, giving your time is much more. And I could put my hand in my pocket now and give you 500 riyals, but that in itself doesn't mean anything. I sit down here with you and do an interview for you. That's me giving you your time, worth more than 500 riyals, It's that sort of way of thinking of the time that you give to get the end result is, for me, is more important than generously giving money, which we still need to do because there's a lot of people who don't have as much as we do.
What would you say to somebody, approaching nearing the end of your journey? Not the end, that's so...
End of your journey.
Is
there something you know?
So, being
this is a heart monitor she's put on there.
Being a person with such wisdom, I don't know how to say.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody striving to discover their true purpose and passion? Like, how did you come into, finding out what lights you up?
You see people doing things and you think, that's good, I'll do that. Oh, that's good, I'll do that. And you, obviously when you're younger, it's being useful and all that is wasted on young people, because as we say, as you get older and experienced, then you can't quite do the same things. But it's all those experiences that you get, like if you've been to school, if you've been to college, you've been to university and all that. Of course, there are other children in the world who don't go to any of these things at all, Yourself, you were out in Sierra Leone, and you see people I went to within Tanzania, and there are people there who have almost nothing. We go, and we're maybe trying to help them. It's giving our time of going there, it's important, but also lets us know, people like me who've been lucky enough to have a good education, be able to go to university, and so on, that the things that make me change my life is education, is information. Information is so important, you know. And once we learn that there are different things going on in our world, we can then look at what we want to do to be part of that world. That's what I think. Other people might want to do it for themselves. They might be a hermit. They want to live in the mountains. They want to do, that's their ultimate life, because maybe they're a bit of a loner. They don't want to do those things. Well, and that, of course, is absolutely fine. For me, whatever it is that you're going to do, as long as it doesn't negatively impact other people, then I don't think there's a problem with whatever it is you want to do or whoever you want to be in doing those things.
Would you consider yourself a privileged person?
Yes, I know I'm a privileged person, simply because I've seen a lot of people who have a lot less privilege than I am. And I'm here in Qatar and working and earning money and that. And there's a lot of people here who have less than I have. And although that's things like material things and that is less, they don't necessarily have less happiness, because in their heads they might be very happy with what they've got. And again, I go back to the money thing, which is what a lot of people strive for, and I know that, and they talk about it all the time, is that guides how they move through their world. I don't work that way, but I'm privileged enough and lucky enough to have had a job, had an education, and I have had money in the bank and all that sort of stuff, and a car and all these sort of things. So it's easy for me to say, oh, that's fine. I haven't been in the situation of having absolutely nothing. You know, when I was younger, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a car. We didn't have any of those things. You know, we didn't have a TV at the time and all that sort of stuff. But having those things aren't really privilege. The privilege comes from being able to do things and change things for other people. That's a real privilege. To be able to go and help people is a real privilege.
I think when I was in Sierra Leone, we were going and touring some of the schools, the projects that the Street Child was doing. It made me think about all the times that I've been in schools where the educators or the teachers were complaining about not having enough resources. And I thought, man, if this is ever an example of not enough resource, literally a painted on blackboard, not a real blackboard, painted on blackboard, a blue tarp and chalk. Yes. And that's what these kids were learning, and sticks. Yeah. And like, this is what these kids were doing their maths with during their, you know, so absolutely. All right, so let's kind of talk about and shift a little bit into sort of mindset, because I know you've probably encountered lots of different people. Yeah. I think what's great within teaching, you know, we always had the principles, right? The PYP principles, risk takers and caring and all these different things, which I think are incredible. What were some of the risks that you took in life that you felt kind of helped mold you into the human you were?
Right. Big one was moving away from my... First one was moving away from Glasgow, moving away from my town place. You did it. You moved halfway around the world here from America. I moved down to England. From Scotland to England, that was a big thing, because Scotland and England don't always get on that well. But, you know, I always did. My wife's from England. So that was the first move, and that's a risk. You know, you're leaving your hometown and so on. But then the real big one was leaving and going abroad, because being from Britain, you know, abroad is, oh my goodness, you know, why would you go and do that? And it was a friend of ours who'd actually gone beforehand. I took him down and helped him with an interview that he went to get a job in, and he went over and he said, oh, it's great over here, the sun shines and all that sort of stuff, and it's wonderful. And then once I made the move, I realised how easy the move is, because I came back, and then the next time I moved, it was like a no-brainer, as they call it, and off we went, and we just went and set up, and then we met people from New Zealand, America, all over the place, you know, and that was a bit where I thought, this is, when we talk about multicultural, you know, we talk about it in Britain saying, oh, we're a multicultural society. Not multi as in, you know, big, lots of different ones. There's a few, but you come to other places where the people come. I mean, here we've got loads of Spanish, Italian, French, German, everybody, you know, and South Africans, Kenyan, our friend from Kenya, everywhere, and you suddenly think, wow, we've got everybody here. And it's great because when you sit and talk to people from different areas around the world, you realise there are other things going on that perhaps we didn't know about, you know?
Absolutely.
And that helps people like me because I'm first of all interested in people before everything else, particularly working with kids, you know, and helping kids and all that sort of stuff. I like helping anyone with their sports and teaching, and even try and teach my friends to play golf. Don't take up golf. If you have not taken it up, don't. It's a killer sport. It's the only sport whereby you are in charge and you are to blame for everything. It's tough, you know.
So what did you learn about yourself in the process?
And
from when you made the decision to leave, and now that you're abroad, or have been for you know, your lifetime, kind of similar to me as well, actually. What did you learn about yourself?
First of all, I learned I could do it, you know. Before I never knew. I used to, you know, although I was a rugby player, I did all these sort of things and that, but I was also quite shy, a very shy person. Would hardly talk to anybody at all. I know you don't believe that now, but it's absolutely true. But I realised that I could step outside. I could go to places I haven't been. I could go and meet people. It was actually easier for me to meet people that had no idea who they were or where they were from than it was to meet, you know, the guy living down the road from me. I found, strangely, I found that. Maybe it's because I thought they had no expectations of me. Maybe that's what it was, you know.
Was it maybe they were also excited to meet you?
Very possibly, because maybe I have something that they've never known about. Somebody from Scotland, you know, a different country, speaks with a funny accent, you know.
The best.
The best accent, you know. And of course, another thing that I really enjoyed was like languages. I didn't really do them at school. After school, I worked in a language school as like a PE type person, taking kids out in the summer and all that. And so I picked up Spanish, Italian, French, and German just from doing that, and then ended up teaching French as well. And it's like suddenly it's like, oh, there's these other languages, and how do you do things? And that for me became really interesting because it allowed me to understand what people are saying. It allowed me to, in some sort of way, have a little part of who they are. I could understand them. Like I said, people are important to me, so I understand the way the German people were saying things, and it sounds like Scottish anyway. So I think, oh, that's not too difficult. And the French, obviously, just across the water, we'd go on a French exchange with children from school, and we go over, and it's trying to break these barriers of language, for example, or even going to another country. So for me, that was the big thing about moving away and meeting all the different people.
So something you touched on was belief. I heard you say this. So you developed a belief that you could.
Yeah.
So the idea behind beliefs that they're just thoughts we think over and over again to get us to essentially believing something about ourselves to then take action. Because a lot of times when we don't, we won't take action.
Yeah.
There's a correlation between kids and sports not believing and seeing they're able to overcome, and then this translation to you know, being an adult, moving countries, learning all these different things. How does one go about developing belief? Because this can also translate into career potential, potential careers people want to go down, businesses they want to start, you know, new sports like golf they're going to pick up after listening to this interview. How does that correlate?
Well, I think if you just say, well, I believe it, that like you said earlier, that isn't anything. It's me saying, oh, I believe I will be able to jump 2 meters over the high jump. Do you? Yeah. And what? If you don't carry it, to say you believe something is you have to have some sort of evidence of why it might be so. So if you say to me, why do you believe you can jump over 2 meters? So I would say, well, because I noticed that all the people who do it are all built like me, you know, and I'm similar to them. So I think it's actually, I think more than I believe. I think it's going to happen. And for me, the only way to get through your believing you want to be somewhere or to do something or to be good or to do anything is you have to start with, I believe I'm going to do that, but I'm now going to tell you how I'm going to activate that belief. And that's what's my next step. And it's always done in steps. Like I said, with golf is in steps. I mean, it's horrendous. You know, you start and you have to break things down. You have to say, you have to practice something. You have to reflect on it to see how it works and how it doesn't work. And you have to go through it again. And you have to go over and over it again. But you have to add on all the time. And in life, you have to add on all the time. As soon as you stop adding on, you've stopped. And if you've stopped, you've finished. And if you've finished, then you're sitting there doing nothing.
Or 6 feet under.
Or you're 6 feet under when you're really finished, yeah. And that's going to happen to all of us, even you.
Yeah, I listen a lot to the Hormozis, particularly Alex Hormozi. He has this quote that he says, or that I've heard, it's, belief without experience is delusion.
Correct.
Or something
Absolutely,
like that.
yeah.
Or no, it's...
but that is correct.
It's belief without evidence is delusion.
Is delusion, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's many people who, I won't mention them now, but who have about delusion, and they talk about that openly. And I agree with them, because you can be deluded saying, oh, yeah, I mean, when we talk about sport, you would say that my wife supports a team called Manchester United, right? And her sister supports Manchester City, the opposite side of this thing. And they had a thing called the FA Cup final, you know. And people say Manchester United fans were deluded because they believed that Manchester United could beat Manchester City. If you're a betting man, I'm not a betting man, I don't bet, I would have put my house, my car, on everything on Manchester City winning that FA Cup final. Absolutely, 100%. And all my friends who supported Manchester City, they all said exactly the same, and Manchester United won. So were they deluded to believe that was going to happen? No, because there was some evidence of previously that they were playing better in certain areas and certain things and so on. You know, so sometimes the delusion is, in my opinion, true. But if you've got some sort of evidence of something happening in that way, then maybe it's an aspiration that you're going to, and I might aspire to that because I've done X, Y, and Z. I might get there.
Yeah, I think that this is actually a really interesting concept because, or just in general to kind of unpack, because, you know, a lot of people say like develop your vision and then establish the goals and, you know, believe that you can do it so that you actually can work on affirmations, reprogram the subconscious. So I actually think that I've fallen into the camp of delusional with this belief that I'm going to be able to develop this thing, etc. And other people have done it, so that's evidence it can be done, right? But I also think that the more action steps we take, right? Sometimes this may seem, I think one of the things is like you can believe you can build a skyscraper, but like until you've built the skyscraper or a lot smaller steps to get towards that, then that's the evidence that you can to achieve that. What kind of how important is mindset in all of this?
Well, it's really important because if your mindset is, I'm going to achieve, like in sport, I was a sport, like I said, I used to play badminton, table tennis. Now, when I went to go into practice and everything, and I know I'm going to achieve it in my head, I know I'm going to do it, but I don't know. I think I'm going to do it, and the only way to do it is to practice and to plan. You have to plan for it. In your business, you have to plan for everything. If you don't have a plan, you might be lucky and something might happen for you, and you think, oh, that's, you know, that I knew that would happen. Did you really? You know, but if you plan for it and you revise it and look at it, you can definitely get there. It's a lot easier if you have a proper plan of whatever it is you're going to do, be it for a sport or be it for your ultimate life or the goals that you want to do in your job or the things you want to change in your own life. You want to travel, you want to do. You have a plan. If you want to go and travel and you don't plan, you get 100 miles down the road and nothing happens. You know, you got to have a proper plan. You know, and sometimes you have to back up, and sometimes you have to take a risk. And when you take the risk, as long as you've got a bit of a plan, maybe a safety plan, whatever it is, I would suggest that you do that, because the people who I see who are like myself, happy in what I've done, is that, well, we took the risk, but we had a plan. And sometimes we have a bit of a backup plan, you know, depends what you're like as an individual. When I first did it, I would have a big backup plan. And now I don't have as much of a big backup plan if I'm going to do something. And again, selfishly, I think, well, if it doesn't work, I'm okay because I've still got this. I've actually got something because of what I've built up over the years, you know, be it financially, you know, we have a little house over in Manchester. So if it all goes wrong, I can just go back over here, you know, so there's a backup there that's been built up over time. But in amongst all that, my happiness has been working with the other people, working with people like yourself and everything. And you get to know someone, and I also get to choose, this is a bit of a negative thing, not to be with certain people because they don't fit into how I think good people should be. Sounds a bit arrogant, you know, saying, well, if you don't fit into how I believe you should be, I believe you should be, then, you know, that's not good enough. But it isn't quite like that. It's to do with as you get older and older, like I am now, I have less time before I finish off. So I want to spend as much quality time with people who I consider are quality people for my own benefit of enjoying life with them or whatever, and for other quality people who I could possibly help, you know, who I think these people need my help maybe, or, you know, I could help them. But by doing that, of course, like I said, I'm the one who's really being a bit selfish, saying, oh, good, that's what I like to do, so I'm doing that for them. But I do know that the world is extremely unfair. I mean, if you look at it right now, and everybody does, they think, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Is there going to be a third world war? And sometimes it's a bit like that, you know, it could well be. So while we're individually trying to, I would hope, improve ourselves, keeping an eye on everything else that's going on around the world. So at the moment, I'm a little bit skeptical about some things in the world, but I'm not skeptical about people, because I believe that the majority of people are good-willed and thinking to themselves, let's get this job done, whatever the job is.
Right. Okay, so this brings me to kind of going back a little bit before going forward. So you talked a lot about a plan. You know, without a plan, any road will take you anywhere. You know, without a plan, you plan to fail. So my dad said when my friend Alexa and I went to set out across the United States, we had a plan. We just wanted to get to the East Coast, Portland. That was the goal. We didn't have a plan for in between, which is, I think, sometimes okay. That bigger picture's there. But how do you follow through? And then proper preparation prevents poor performance. So when you're showing up to these games and the practice and you're doing these things, you know, James Clear says, like, you know, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And if we're preparing properly, those systems we have in place can help us with things like when the world gets a little bit crazy, right? Like what's going down. You also mentioned not having you have a plan B. Some people would say that you should burn your plan B. I burned my plan B. When I committed to retiring with you, I remember. Let my teaching license expire. Like I was going to burn that bridge. And the more we do in life, the more evidence that we have, the more we just naturally have fallbacks. You know, when I started this journey, I wanted to move to Germany. You know, I was a substitute teacher. I was volunteering for Healthcare for All Oregon, like all these things. That was the plan. And then I became a server, a bartender. That was the plan B. Then I became, you know, an English teacher. Okay, I always knew I could go back to that. Then I started directing camps. Okay, I could always go back to that. Then I got into schools, always go back. And so the more and more we do, the more and more we fall back to. Now my plan is not necessarily go back to teaching. It would be either to go into sales if for some reason my plan A wouldn't work, or I would go back into events, because that was my most recent with the Asian Football Cup. So I'm like, oh, that was awesome. So that's the plan. So having this, you know, preparing for your life, like taking action, there is always a natural fallback for when things like World War III happens. companies are always going to need salespeople.
Yeah.
You know, companies are always going to need people
Yeah.
who have skills, creativity, this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
You're right, but you also got a plan B. You know, if we say, some people say you shouldn't even have a plan B, you can go. We can say, very often say, oh, the most successful people. But does that mean they're happy? Because they're the most successful, you know? Here you go, Elon Musk, right? He is very successful, obviously, within the world of whatever. He's also, I would say he's on the spectrum of the way some people think, you know? And people will say, oh, he's really successful. I'll say, well, how do you know he's successful? I said, and I think, I haven't met him. And for me, he's built a big company and financially, obviously, super successful, all that sort of stuff. But also, he is involved in like going to Mars. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's successful. To have something else that's out there that's different, you know, different from what I'd love to go into space, you know. I always did want to. I'm interested in science and the cosmos and everything else. So he's a successful person.
Because he's advancing humanity?
And he's thinking about advancing humanity, yeah. And I think he's also thinking about, we know this is going to finish. Mm-hmm. Well, sorry, no. Some of us know that this Earth is going to finish, and I can tell you roughly when it's going to be. But don't worry, I won't be here, neither will you. That type of stuff, you know, people who are forward-looking, and I like things like that. But when you said, you know, some people would say you don't need a plan B, you just go. I am not that much of a risk taker. I am a risk taker, but I am not that much of a risk taker, and I know that. So that's why I need my plan B.
For security.
You know, but people might say, well, that's going to have stopped you from doing something fantastic. But to the people who are saying that to me, I want to say to them, what have you done in your life, you know? I went to Mexico for the World Cup in '86. I flew there, you know. And to work there, I worked there, you know, and I did stuff. So I've done things like that. I've been to France, to Germany, I've been around the Middle East, you know. I've done lots and lots of different things in my life that have involved meeting other people and doing other things. So for someone to say, you know, what's your ultimate goal? I don't know my ultimate goal. Maybe my ultimate goal is just to be able to keep doing what I'm doing and the way I do it for different and other people, you know, because like I said at the very beginning, don't get to the ultimate, otherwise you've stopped, you know. So I need to think of other things to do and other things. And obviously I was retiring in that, and Marie and I were retiring. We were just getting somewhere in Spain. Selfishly, why do I want to go to Spain? These knuckles and bits and pieces that I broke when I was at rugby, they hurt like mad in the UK. When I'm in Spain or I'm here, no pain.
Yeah.
Even I can run 5K, 10K, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So in a way, that's a selfish thing. Saying, well, I could spend the winter there and all that. Although I do like to ski, I must be honest.
Yeah, of course.
But so in a way, my ultimate thing, I don't know the real answer.
Something tells me that there's been many ultimates. For example, you know, think about a mountain range. I feel like this is why when I was 24, my friend Alexa and I cycled across the US, and that is the logo for my company, because, you know, we hit many peaks.
Yes.
And going up those switchbacks were so hard. And it literally, the song's like, just keep spinning, it was like 1 foot ahead another. Like I was chanting these things to get myself to the top. Yeah. You get to the top and you ride down. Well, I did. She held the brakes the whole time.
Yeah.
But I ran down, no brakes, just as fast as I could. It's also why I have a massive scar on the side of my thigh from when I was 12 years old doing the same thing. But then you get to the bottom and then there's another. So, you know, perhaps an ultimate life is the constant pursuit and then, you know, of feeling the glory and then glory, I don't know if that's the word, and then restarting again. Now, you're somebody who I got to know very well. I mean, one ultimate that we both went off on a career ender was doing the World Cup at Qatar, you know, Academy.
Yeah.
being able to take our primary school to Education City Stadium and experience that entire thing, that had to have been like a career highlight.
It was a career highlight because our mistake, because you should always learn from your mistakes. Our mistake was not getting the Guinness World Record involved, because we did 1,710 games before the final in the stadium, with every single child in the whole of primary school, 880 kids involved. It was the biggest children's competition in the world before the World Cup, and it should have been on the TV and everything. And for one of the big things for me, apart from the fact that we all got to work really hard and get it, the children, they loved it. They did it. We remember we brought in Spanish people and French people and all that to come into the classrooms. We talked, and we did different foods, and we did everything else about the world. So it wasn't just kicking a ball around. And some of the negative press at the time that was on the TV, I just thought if we could have actually shown those little kindergarten girls playing for Brazil and the ambassador from Brazil coming in and giving them the World Cup, that's how it should have been. It was the most incredible competition that I have ever been involved in. Obviously, never be involved in another one again like that. I doubt if anyone will do a competition of that size that we did, because we did it. It was over 2 months or something. The whole thing.
It was like the entire year.
But when we did the actual block,
Yeah, I would say it was longer than that because there was a break. But
there was a break, and it's like every day and getting all the senior kids involved, and it was, as a community, it was a whole thing. It was a World Cup. That was the whole thing. But yeah, you're right. That is the major achievement in that part of my job, that I've ever done, and yours as well.
Yeah. Definitely the highlight to go out on for sure. Now, one thing, when we were working together, you were my lead teacher. I felt, and we talked about this a little bit right before this, and I got like a little emotional to think about, like, of all the teams I've worked on, we had a really, I feel like, special, kind of close, very compatible team, and that always starts with the leader, and that trickles down. So what is your philosophy of leadership? How were you able to kind of create, I know, but I want you to tell everyone else how you were able to create such an environment of just love and kindness and respect and hard work. It's not like we weren't.
No, not
during a pandemic.
1,700 games,
when there were rules changing all of the time. How did that?
There's a couple of things that obviously I hold very close to myself. One is you have to have, I'm going to say you have to respect the other people. You don't. They have to perform in a way that you respect how they perform. I have to perform in a way that you will respect how I perform in a work situation. And after a small amount of time, because of the way we were, we had respect for each other because of what we could do. One of the big things as a leader is you might be older, you might know more because you've experienced more. It doesn't mean you can do things better. Now, when it came to this computerized stuff and Redempta on her systems and all that sort of stuff, I accept that I am the child here and you two are the adults in this line of work. But the other thing is, I would ask you, can you get that done? First of all, I don't say, I want you to do it. I say, can you get it done? Because if you say, no, I can't get that done because you don't have the skill set, I'm asking you because I don't have the skill set to do it, but there's no blame. And my whole life is the companies or the people who work on a blame culture, I don't get it. Why do you want to blame people? People know. I played rugby, and rugby was great because we never turned around and went, you dropped the ball, why did you do that? You just didn't do it. To blame someone, they already know they've done it. They don't need someone to tell them they can or can't do it. So for me, it was, can you do that? Yeah, oh, thank goodness for that, because I can't. And it's almost like some people think that if you're in a higher position, whatever that means, you're in a position of authority, that you need to know everything. You don't. You need to be able to guide the whole area and the team. And of course, our team, the three of us, we had different skills. And the reason I think that it worked so well is because I cared about you and I cared about Redemptor. Mm-hmm. I cared about the thing. And the other thing is, if there's anybody out there actually wants to be a really good leader, don't just speak to people. Find out what they want to tell you. You don't necessarily be nosy. I can tell you about this lady's mother and her cousins and her friend at school and her this and her that and so on, because she wanted to tell me that, and I wanted to open these up and listen to her. And she's listened to all my stories about Scotland.
I know about his mother.
My brother. And we know about
and his friends.
And it's.
But there's so many great lessons to glean too,
yes,
just by listening.
Oh, of course there are. And once you feel something with the group, anytime any issues or problems come from the group go, right, what can we do to do it? And at that point, although ultimately I'm supposed to go and tell the people what's going on, it really is a group way of working. And you feel, I suppose I try to make you and Redemptor feel that what you're doing is worthwhile, because sometimes in people's jobs, what they're doing, they don't feel worthwhile. Some of them hate their job, they get to the end of the day, and then they want to do their ultimate life.
Mm-hmm. Living for the weekend.
Living for the weekend, yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I lived for the weekend because I was obsessed with rugby. But I was working in the biochemistry department of Strathclyde University at the time, with one of these guys. But I loved what he was doing. He was a professor and doing stuff, and I loved what I was doing there. So, although I lived for the weekend, I also loved doing the job I did at that time. And if you can get both of them, if you can love doing what you're doing during the week, like you're loving getting your business running and going and everything else, then you can have a great weekend as well. Mm-hmm. Win-win situation.
Or maybe you're just working on the weekend and it doesn't even feels like every day is Saturday.
Yeah, it's true.
So what qualities do you think are essential for a successful team?
For a successful team, to know the goal is first of all. You and the leader has to make the goal clear to everyone, because sometimes they get given the goal first, or they create the goal first themselves. To make the goal available to everyone, and also to inform them of the steps on the way to the goal, because sometimes the goal is very short or very long, doesn't matter, and they do that. And for the team to be successful, there has to be different people in the team who own a part of the goal that wouldn't happen if they weren't there. Mm. And that means, when we talk about the World Cup, right, I mean, it was enormous, it was huge. And the three of us and Elizabeth were the team, right? Without Elizabeth, it wouldn't have worked. Right. Without you, it wouldn't have worked. Without me, it wouldn't have worked. Without Redemptor, it wouldn't have worked. The four of us together, it worked. We all had specialised skills sets that, maybe I did think about them. And I say, well, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do it? And so on. And we do it. And that's a bit of a sort of managerial type bit. But you might have been able to do exactly the same thing, and you could have been the manager of it, or Elizabeth, or whatever. It's sometimes the managers try to take over what's going on. For the successful team, the manager doesn't take over or say, oh, well, I could do that better than you. You let that person own it. Even if they're not as experienced as you are, you let them own it, you let them make their little errors here and there, you keep an eye on what's going on. If something was going a little bit off to the side, you might give advice and all that, but they own that part of what was done. And when we talk about the World Cup thing, you didn't work at it with us. You created massive parts of it that would not have worked if you hadn't done it. So you own part of that. And there's 4 of us, and I would say we own 25% of it each. I don't own 50% because I was the boss or anything like that. We owned how it worked. Ultimately, you have that word all the time. The certain responsibilities you have as somebody in charge of whatever it is that's going on, and if it's your own thing or your own business, for example, then you have to take that responsibility. The team is only as good as their weakest player. That's what we say in rugby, but we don't blame them.
No blame.
We help them, we encourage them, we show them, and ultimately, if the person doesn't want to be in the team, you wish them well and say goodbye. You don't hold grudges. There's no point in doing that whatsoever. Summer of '69, Bryan Adams, ain't no use in complaining when you've got a job to do. Get on with the job. Complaints can go elsewhere.
Is there anything else you would like to add before I ask my final question?
One is, thanks for asking me to talk, because a lot of times people don't ask certain people to talk. The biggest mistake anyone ever makes is that they think that because someone's getting older, that perhaps they don't really know what they're talking about. When in fact, they've done so much through their whole life that maybe they do know what they're talking about. So don't shut people off.
Oh, listen, I'm already going to hire you for future events. Like, I know once Project Ultimate Life Youth, the nonprofit, comes along, Mike Miller's going to be running that team.
Sure.
That's it.
That we can do.
Yeah. Okay, so to kind of finish up, if somebody was at the start of their journey or they were on their way to make a massive shift, right? Because ultimately, Project Ultimate Life is about people getting really clear on the direction they want, developing their vision, identifying the goals, attaching to their why they want to do something, compounding on the habits that's going to take for them to be successful over time. This is Project Ultimate Life. If somebody's at the beginning of their journey or trying to make some kind of massive shift, whether it's career, whether it's with their health, whether it's with their finance, what advice would you have to give them?
Right. Depends who the person is in some respects, as in, not what age are they, it's what experience have they had of success, failure, all those sort of things. You need to maybe know a bit about them, a bit about their background, where they come from. But the general advice is, if you don't do it, you won't do it. It's dead simple. If you don't take the chance, or you don't take the risk, a lot of people are afraid of taking the risk because of what they might lose and everything. But the question you maybe ask yourself is, what is the worst that could happen? I'm buying a house just now in Spain, and suddenly they went, oh, you can't do it. They've changed the rules. I didn't complain because I had a job to do. So I flew over to Spain, had to sort something out, and I spoke to the people there, and they said, I can't believe you're so calm about all this, Miller. I mean, we expected you to be saying, why have you let me do that? And I said, well, what's the point of doing that? There's not. If you want to be successful, which I do, I want to have this house that we mentioned in Spain. This is just something that's come along, and life will always throw little bits in here and there. And it might sound, travel all the way to Spain, sign stuff and go back, and that's all you're doing. But if that's what you need to do to get your success, then you need to do it. Get on with it.
Never a problem, only a solution.
Get on with it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. So I would do it.
Okay, great. So will we see you soon when I pop back through in Doha in December?
You're through in December. I'll definitely want to know, because I know what you're up to anyway. It's traveling all over the world, going to all these different things. I want to know who you've met.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how? Oh yes. Shall we ask her? I can ask her if you want. Should I? Okay, I will. So what's your ultimate goal?
To impact the lives of 5 million people positively.
5 million? Why so few?
Milestones.
Is that so that's the first 5 million. Yeah.
First 5 million milestones.
Yeah. In fact, everyone in India, that's over 1 billion.
Yeah.
Billions.
There we go.
Yeah. No, good. The other thing, something we should talk about is, there's a. Do you mind if I rabbit on?
No, go ahead.
I was looking at a little study type thing that was saying that when you tell someone, oh, you were fantastic, you were brilliant, you were great, and all that sort of stuff, but it's very, very good. If you say to someone, the effort you put in was unbelievable, the effort you did to do that was fantastic and brilliant, they achieve more than the people who you told have done really, really, really well. Because if you think about it, I know if I've scored a goal, I know if I scored a hat trick in a game, oh, well done, Millie, but as a defender, if someone's come up and said, the work you did today, covering all that ground and everything, you come away thinking, oh, I am a footballer now, I am really able to do it, or whatever it is. The person who you told, well done, you scored 3 goals, you know he scored 3 goals because he scored 3 goals. It doesn't make him appreciate it more, or that. I mean, we do like people to say well done, but so I think the effort bit is the bit that I'm going to try and focus on now, because I'm coming out of retirement. I'm going back in to help my friend Elizabeth out, and I also know some of the children. When I walk in, they're all going to go, oh, Mr. Green's here, because I'm used to telling them how hard they've worked and how they're progressing and everything else through it. So I look forward to that.
I'm not sure if this is the right name, but it builds off this concept of the growth mindset, and I believe it was the book by Angela Duckworth. Is that?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's her name, but it's the growth mindset. It's the idea that in studies they found when you were able to encourage children's effort, they actually compounded and were much more successful over time than if you complemented the outcome.
Yes.
Because their outcomes are less controlled than the effort that you put in to be able to achieve that desired outcome. Goes back to proper preparation, prevents poor performance.
It does. And if you think about it, I mean, we were always good at this in our particular school. If you come and watch my lessons or anything, I am encouraging the effort and everything. The end result is, a shot, a goal, or whatever, or even if that's what they want to do, or a back somersault, or whatever it is that they've done. But this constant giving people praise for the effort they're doing is what you should do. I mean, you're going to run a company. You want to say to the people, the effort, because it's the effort that gives you the results. The result itself is a finite thing, and the more effort you can put in, the more chance you have of having a result that you want. So when you're doing your stuff, praise the effort, and don't blame someone, because when you have a blame society, it nosedives absolutely instantly. And I think the most successful people are those who are praising everyone all the time.
On their effort.
Yeah, on their effort, not false praise. I mean, false praise is stupid. If I say, "Oh, well done, you've done really well there," and you think that was absolutely dreadful, but I've just done. Why are you saying that to me? You've got to pick something that you're giving them the praise for, and it has to be an effort in a way that they can say, "Well, yes, I did do that bit right, and I did really well in whatever it was." So, yeah, praise the right praise to the right person at the right time. It's a skill. It's a skill set to be able to do it just quite right. But I wish you every success. And I know you're going to be successful. I told you that 2 years ago.
I wouldn't have left my job and had that belief in myself if it weren't for you and Elizabeth and Rajamta. So.
And you're doing it. You're still here. You're still able to eat. You're fit as anything because you go and do all your fitness stuff. So fit body, fit mind, you can't ask for more. And your health is everything, of course, as we know.
Health as well.
Health, yeah. It's the biggest wealth there is. And as people get older, you know that more and more, because there's more of my generation or my friends and all that who are not as healthy as me. I'm a fairly healthy young old guy type thing, and a lot of them are not, and they can't even physically do the things that I can do. Mentally, maybe they can. I don't know because they don't tell me about it.
Right. Well, even exercise has such an impact on cognitive
Oh,
performance as
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. It does.
All right. We
Cool.
win.
Boo. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.